Charleston is known for its majestic waterways, but when that water starts getting onto land in places it shouldn't, that's a problem. I recently had a conversation with Faith Rivers James with the Coastal Conservation League about what's being done to fix these issues.
Protecting our coastal resilience. What are some solutions for some of the climate problems that specifically the city of Charleston is facing?
Well, as you know, the city of Charleston is dealing with the impacts of climate all the time with rising sea levels and these intense weather storms. It's just been all the more important that we take proactive steps to protect ourselves. And so specifically, things like providing nature-based solutions to help us with some green infrastructure that can absorb water when we face these rising tides is critically important. And it shows up for everyday citizens in that to the extent that we're able to protect them against flooding, that protects their own investments in their cars and in their homes. And so it's really important that we do that.
How easily can you protect an area of flooding that sits below sea level?
Well, the Dutch have done it. And I think there are important lessons that we can learn from the Dutch, from the folks in New Orleans, as we endeavor to protect our peninsula, but also our tidal areas along the creeks and marshes and riverbeds around our community. And so we're looking for solutions to help us resolve these issues as they arise. And so we are focused on, one, considering where we build and how we build, but two, also trying to figure out how do we protect and defend the areas with some infrastructure, gray infrastructure, pumps, and green infrastructure that can help absorb some of that water.
Is there enough money to counteract the effects of Mother Nature?
I think the cost of not taking steps is even higher. And so initiatives like this with the Infrastructure Act, which passed on a bipartisan basis, that gives us a head start in the effort. But certainly I don't think everyone wants to just retreat away from our city. And so we've got to find some creative solutions.
Okay, and speaking of retreating away from the cities, there have been studies, that show, as was mentioned, that in 50 years' time, all of this area will be underwater. Can you mitigate that?
Well, I think it's important that we try. John F. Kennedy said we choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And so just as we can get to the moon, we can figure out a way, I think, to protect Charleston, to protect our homes, to protect our livelihood, to protect our community. Charleston is a gem for the nation and for the world. And I think we owe it our best effort to be sure that we are resilient.
We care about it when we're dodging raindrops and trying to get around flooded streets. But is there enough emphasis in this area on the effects of climate change?
Well, I think it's important for people to understand that it's not just responding to storms and preparing for storms, but how we live our daily lives. And so efforts to promote electric cars, to use less carbon, to compost, to reduce our methane gas, all of those things, each impact that we have saves something. And so we can take steps every day. It's an easy solution to say, well, I'll be dead by the time it's underwater, but we have to leave a legacy for the next generation. And so it's incumbent upon us to do all that we can to fix it.
I want you to look into your crystal ball 20 years into 30 years into. What do you see that's different now because of efforts that were started?
I think we can be here in 20 or 30 years because of the efforts that have started. We are raising awareness. We are bringing people in partnerships between community organizations like ours, state government, and federal resources, working on oyster beds. It seems like a small thing, but when you look at restoring those 3 acres will turn into 300 acres of preserved marshland, which will help protect Parris Island. And so every little bit that we do does add up. And so we're really focused on looking for those creative solutions that can help us be more resilient into the future.